The search for presumptive Democratic nominee Joe Biden's running mate is well underway. Biden has pledged to choose a woman for the ticket. Sources tell CBS News he is seriously considering 5 to 8 potential picks, and several high-profile Democrats say they're urging him to choose a woman of color. The former vice president said he expects the vetting process to take at least 5 to 8 weeks, but hopes to announce his decision by July. For more, let's bring in Caitlin Huey-Burns and Sean Sullivan. Caitlin is a CBSN political reporter, and Sean is a CBSN contributor and national politics reporter for The Washington Post. Hi there, Caitlin and Sean. Caitlin, let me start with you. Sources tell CBS News that Joe Biden is seriously considering between 5 to 8 potential picks. Who really is on the top of that list right now?
Well, the team is holding that pick very close to the vest, but we know that people like Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, Gretchen Whitmer, and several others, Amy Klobuchar, have been kind of talked about as potentially on that list. And we do know from Gretchen Whitmer, of course, the governor of Michigan, she told the Today Show yesterday that she has had an opening conversation with the team about the vice presidential pick. She said those are just opening conversations, and she kind of moved on from there. But I think that kind of thing is what distinguishes this process from others that we've seen in the past. And what I mean by that is that we're seeing these auditions for vice president kind of in real time, in the open air, in public, because you have many potential candidates in their day jobs doing interviews, addressing the coronavirus, whether they're governors or in the United States Senate. They have these very public roles. So you're kind of seeing that play out in real time. And Joe Biden, in an effort to run a digital campaign, as he has to do now, has a podcast where he's invited several of these potential picks to join him on that podcast. So we've heard from Amy Klobuchar and Gretchen Whitmer and some others on that front. And we've also seen several of these potential picks be very open about their own ambitions. And I think that's something else that distinguishes this time from years past, when you've seen potential candidates say, no, not me, I'm not qualified, or I'm not up for it. You've seen several of these women in interviews say that they very much would be able to do this job. And then we're also looking at interviews that Biden has been giving in which he's kind of talking about what he wants in a running mate. He, of course, knows how this process goes after serving as Obama's vice president for 2 terms, and he has kind of drawn upon those experiences. He says that he wants someone who can make up for some things that he may lack on the ticket or in his own campaign. And he has also said that he wants this person to be kind of the last person in the room giving him advice. So we know that Biden has long relationships. He cherishes those relationships. And I've talked to people who have been on previous vetting committees who say that that kind of relationship that the candidate has with a running mate is really important, and sometimes can come over any electoral benefits that that person may bring to the ticket.
Sean, Caitlin notes the very public nature of the conversations about the veepstakes. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer said she's in talks with the Biden campaign. Let's listen to what she said.
It was just an opening conversation, and it's not something that I would call a professional, formalized vetting. I am making a little bit of time to stay connected to the campaign, but the most important thing that I have to do right now is be the governor of my home state. That's all that matters to me in this moment, and that's where I'm going to stay all my energy focused.
So, Sean, what would be some of the challenges in picking someone like Governor Whitmer, who is trying to lead her state in the midst of a pandemic?
Well, there would be a couple of challenges, and the most obvious one would be, as you said, Elaine, picking somebody who in the moment right now is trying to deal with the crisis and trying to deal with both the health effects and the economic effects in her state. And so how would Joe Biden be viewed? What would Michigan do? How would voters in a state that is a crucial state for both the Trump campaign and the Biden campaign, Michigan, how are voters going to see her if she were the running mate campaigning around the country at a time when her state is potentially, in the months to come, still dealing with this crisis? that's a question that the Biden campaign and Governor Whitmer are going to have to grapple with as they consider her. The other consideration for the Biden campaign is what this would mean for the ticket. Governor Whitmer is somebody who's still relatively new to the national scene. She hasn't run on a national stage before. So when you just look purely at the political considerations here, there's a decision for Joe Biden. Does he want to go with somebody more experienced? Does he want to go with somebody who has run for president before and he has options right now among candidates who ran against him? Or does he want somebody who's a relative newcomer? These are some of the many decisions and many tough choices that Biden and the small group of people around him that are making this decision are going to have to come to terms with in the coming weeks. As Caitlin mentioned, the team is keeping a very, very, sort of close, guarded loop around this decision right now, trying not to leak any details about this. So a lot of considerations, a lot of decisions, and a lot of trade-offs that Biden's going to have to look at, not only with Governor Whitmer, but with a lot of these potential nominees.
Well, Sean, you mentioned a moment ago people who ran against him. Would there be benefits of picking someone like a Senator Kamala Harris or Senator Amy Klobuchar, names that are, of course, familiar to Democratic voters?
Those are familiar names, and people remember that they debated against Joe Biden a few months ago. They ran against him. They competed in the same primary. A lot of people I talked to around the Biden campaign, allies, friends, associates, like the idea of Klobuchar or Harris, one of the two. And they're starting to be seen as sort of the two leading candidates in this process right now, even though the campaign is trying to signal that there is no internal front runner. But there are a lot of reasons why allies of the campaign like them. One, they view them as candidates who are more vetted than some of these other names. And they also like the political benefit that they could bring to the ticket. When they look at Senator Klobuchar, they look at somebody who they feel could help in the upper Midwest, in states like Wisconsin, Michigan, which we talked about, in Pennsylvania, states that Trump won, but Democrats are looking to recapture. They look at Senator Harris as somebody who can help energize the Democratic base, who can win in big cities and suburban areas, and who can help turn out African-American voters, African-American women, which of course were crucial to Joe Biden in the primaries and stand to be crucial in the general election as well. So two very, very different choices in Klobuchar and Harris, but two choices who Democrats see as tested, as experienced, as the kind of candidates that they wouldn't have to worry about if Joe Biden ended up picking.
And Caitlin, could Joe Biden's choice of a running mate be considered as a possible president in waiting beyond 2020?
Well, certainly, not so long ago, although it seems like the distant past, there were about 24 Democrats running for the Democratic nomination. It was the biggest and most diverse field in history. You had a historic number of women seeking that office. And so certainly whoever is picked as the running mate would have that leg up eventually. And there have been questions about whether Biden, who will be the oldest person seeking the nomination for the Democrats, whether he would serve another term or run for re-election. That's something that has been asked about. But Biden himself has said in interviews that he really sees himself as kind of the bridge between himself and this next generation of leaders. And throughout his career, but especially on the campaign trail, he's praised a lot of those other candidates, some of his rivals. He's talked about people like Pete Buttigieg and Kamala Harris. And so he certainly seems to recognize his position here and the kind of gravity of this pick beyond the immediate consideration as vice president, that he could be setting this person up for a potential run down the line, be it in 2024 or later on. But he has talked about himself as kind of the bridge builder. And as he starts to go through this process, which is underway, as he gets further along, we know that he's been talking to his close group, but also been kind of looking at how this primary shaped out. He's under pressure from a variety of different camps to kind of be aware of kind of what this pick means beyond it just being a running mate.
The Veep stakes do continue. All right, Caitlin Huey-Burns and Sean Sullivan, thank you both. Take care.